All right, so we have a little intro to the lathe now. Next thing we're gonna do is start on our second project, which is the first project we're gonna do in the lathe. And that is this part right here. This is our blueprint that goes with it. This is standard as a machinist. You're gonna be given a blueprint and a piece of raw material, and you're gonna have to produce that part. Now, we're gonna go through, because we're rookies at this, and we're gonna go and take it step by step. So go through here. If you print out your packet, or if you need one, I have some printed here as well. It goes through the process here of what we're gonna do kind of step by step on this. So the first thing it says is cut an 1.5" diameter stock to 3 5/8 inch long with a bandsaw. Well, I went through and already have done that. So we've got our chunk of material, 1.5" round, and it is at 3 and just a little over 5/8 right now. So, and that's 3 inch, let's actually measure it and see. So, my caliper right here. Oops. Put that on. And we are at, oh, that's actually a little bit under 3 5/8, which isn't a big deal. 3 5/8 is 3.625, which should be right about there. So I've got about 20 thousandths or so less. But for what we're doing, this is going to be fine. Right now, what we're ideally trying to do is take this 3 inch, and I guess my 3 inch 597, and take it down to 3.5 inches. So before we get started on everything with this project, we're going to get familiarized with this lathe a little bit more. So different types of work holding in the lathe. This is a 3-jaw chuck. This is the one I demonstrated previously, and set up there for now. On the lathes, every one of these lathes has their own cart that's associated with it. So the lathe right here, number 5, has this cart, and it says LeBlanc number 5 on it. So you know that these are synchronized and go together. If you're on this lathe back here, that's your cart. If you're on this lathe here, that's your cart. If you're on this lathe, that's your cart. So some people want to do this, and like they'll be on this machine and then they'll go over to this cart. Well, that's not really yours. That one's for that machine. So the cart for this machine is actually back behind here. So just kind of pay attention there. So you're putting the tools, taking the tools from the cart that's associated with the lathe, just so everything gets put back in the right place. So when we need it, we have it. All right, so I'm gonna go here on the cart, the way it's set up. Just do a quick overview. These are your tool holders there for the Aloris tool posts that we're gonna use. Lathe dogs, we'll use those a little bit later. Allen wrenches. We've got files down here. Steel rule hangs out in here. Brush just for cleaning the machine. There is a drill drift behind there that will be used for separating your taper attachment sometimes. We've got all your T-handles here for your chuck. Lead hammer, these are really nice. Lead hammer is, you know, it's very dense and heavy, but it's soft enough where you can actually hit metal with it and it won't mar the metal. So we use that from time to time. Live center, and then down below underneath here, we have our coolant. We have a couple different chucks on here. We have a steady rest, and then the wrenches and everything that we'll need as we go along using the machine. Oh, and your indicators on there as well. So it's pretty much everything you're gonna need right there for this machine, besides basic tools like drill bits, taps, something like that. Otherwise, everything else is pretty much here, which makes it very convenient. So to keep it in good order, just like it looks right now, let's talk about work holding. 3-jaw chuck. I'm gonna grab my T-handle here. Remember, this T-handle never, well, it doesn't fit. We'll try this one. This T-handle never leaves your hand. It's basically in your hand all the time. You utilize it and you take it back out, and that's the safe way to go. What the 3-jaw does is basically these jaws all move together. So you can just turn this T right here and all the jaws open and close together, which is very convenient, and it's probably the most common chuck that you will use. Not the chuck we're gonna start with, but it's the most common chuck that you will use. So I'll show you why we don't use this for everything. So I'm gonna take our piece of stock right here, and I'm not gonna be running it with this chuck, because I'm gonna change chucks, but I just wanna show you what this looks like. So I'm gonna go in here, and we'll just clamp on this, snug it down. Again, T-handle out of the chuck, and back over to our cart. And I'm gonna pull my board off and just toss that down here, out of the way. What I'm gonna use here is an indicator. Normally on these machines, I would just use this indicator right here, and I would just go off the face right here, but it's kind of hard for me to talk about this while it's crooked and sideways without making you sick. So I'm going to use this mag base here, which I can kind of set the indicator a little bit in front of us so we can get a better visual on it. All right, so I'm attaching that to the carriage here right now, and bring the carriage across. There we go. So right now, the way these indicators work, this is a 100 thousandths long travel indicator. It is a 100 thousandths revolution. It actually has up to a full inch of travel. What we're going to be doing with it right now is just looking to see how much run out we have in our part with this 3-jaw chuck. So what you do is you just spin the chuck and you look. Woo, that is really, really good. Really, really good. Let's see if I can emulate that again, because I was expecting it to be usually about 3 to 5 thousandths is typical for something like this. We're just going to flip it around and put it the other way. Okay, and there you can see it's off about from 70 it's going to, down to 69, 68, about 67 and a half. So we've got about 2.5 thousandths run out there. So, and that's fine for most applications depending on the tolerance that you have in your drawing, but this is where the next chuck will come in, and I'll show you what we can do with that one differently. So I'm going to take this part back out. Again, the 3-jaw, very convenient, very, very easy, but we're not using it today. So I'm going to flip and take my board, put it back up here again. I'm going to show you how to remove this chuck. So this is considered a cam lock chuck. This cam lock means that it's got different cams on here that actually pull that chuck on. There's kind of 3 different versions of chuck mounting. Cam lock chuck is probably your most accurate and probably your, I don't know if it's the most common, but probably my favorite way to mount a chuck on here. You could also do the threaded spindle nose. I'll show you one of those here in a little while. Those are different, where the chuck actually threads on, but it has a taper and a thread that hold it on with a nut. And then the last one is just a simple threaded spindle where you just screw it on. The problem with just those simple screw-on chucks that don't have a nut or a locking mechanism is that they can only go forward. If you are ever to go in reverse with it and you put your tool to the material, it will just unthread the chuck. And that's a bad day. We don't want this chuck falling off and bouncing on the floor or on our toe or anything. So for now, we're going to take this one off. So now I should use this T-handle. All right, so what I do is go back here to these back cams and I loosen these up. And what you should see, hopefully you can see this, is there's a registration line here. That line should pop up right at 12 o'clock. And if that line does that, you'll see it kind of kick up like that. And that tells you you've released it. So we need to take the registration line from, it's usually locking between the V and the V. We want to take that registration line and put it at 12 o'clock, and that's when the chuck will release. So I go through on all of these and pop them free. Registration line 12 o'clock. Registration line 12 o'clock. And one more. And when I did that one there, you can see the chuck release now, and it's free. Sometimes there is a taper inside of here, and if it's a nice clean chuck, it may stick on there. And even though you loosened all those, it won't come off. So what do we do then? Well, that's where we'd go with a lead hammer, and we'd give it a little like that. Again, lead hammer, soft, won't damage